We are live. Hello and welcome to another live windsurf coaching. Did you sail this week? That is the big question. That is the big question. Did you sail this week? I didn't. I'm in Germany and I know there is some windsurfing this week, but it's too cold for me. It's too cold for me. If I were going to be in Europe for the next 2 months, 3 months, I would have gotten on the water. But I'm going to Cape Town the end of this month, and so I am not doing all of the mental work to deal with the cold water. Hey, Axel. And instead, seeing some friends, having a bit of time off, spending time with my family. I went to a birthday party. A good friend of mine actually, it wasn't a birthday. It was just a holiday party over the weekend and getting ready. Yeah, there's a lot going on in my family. We're moving out of our apartment in Hamburg. My son has his birthday coming up. We've got the holidays, all kinds of things. So busy, busy, busy with non-windsurfing things. And then going to Cape Town. In Cape Town, I will be coaching, and there are a few spaces left in the masterclass. So the masterclass is happening from the 22nd of January to the 28th of January. There's a little bit of interest from me a little bit. The people keep asking me if I'm going to do stuff before, and I have a little bit of interest to do stuff before. I need a bit of a break. So the first couple weeks of the year, I'm gonna have a little bit of a break, focus on my own windsurfing. But I can do a little bit of coaching in that period. So if you're down there as well, look out. There might be some 1-day workshops or 2-day workshops. But the main masterclass is the 22nd of January to the 28th. And there are still some spots. So if you are interested in joining that masterclass, there's an application form in the Facebook group. I will put it again to the top of the Facebook group. I can put it in the comments here too. Let me just find the form. I can throw it in the comments section here. I don't know, because I stream through a different platform, and I know some of you guys are on YouTube. Some of you guys are on Facebook. I don't know actually where this goes, whether this goes to both Facebook or YouTube when I comment. Anyway, looks like it goes to YouTube. So if you're on YouTube, there's the application form. If you're in the Facebook group, it's already been posted, and I will link to it again as well. All right. Now, without further ado, let's jump into it. I've got some thoughts. We have some really good posts this week. And of course, I want to hear from you guys in the chat how you're doing. How was your week? What have you been up to? We've got Axel. Hello, Axel. Axel is a regular. Axel, I think, wins the most improved award for 2023. Are we going to start doing awards? Is that what we're doing? Well, if we are doing awards, Axel wins most improved for 2023. I was really impressed. He came on a masterclass in 22 with me, and then in 23 as well. And it was so cool to see that progress. Steen. Hello, Steen. Jorg is another masterclass alumni, and he had one cold water session in southern Sweden. Sounds cold. Max, stitches out. Yeah, stitches. I've still got my scar. Can you see my scar? This is my head injury when I busted my head open in November. Yeah, I hope you heal up, Max. Hope you heal up. Steen says lots of wind in the Netherlands. Axel is in Tarifa. He had 2 sessions in Kanos and 1 in Tarifa. Not a lot of waves though. Suna. Hello, Suna. Suna had 2 sessions this week. Suna is a machine. Suna is on it. Awesome. Thomas says there's 11-meter waves at Lista on Friday. Whew. 11-meter waves at Lista. Does it actually work when it's like that? I mean, 11-meter waves, depending on the place, like Jaws, for example, 11-meter waves are fine. Hokipa, it starts to be too big. Lista, how does it hold? I mean, some places, once it gets 5 meters, it doesn't work anymore. But how does it work? Can Lista hold 11 meters? regardless, I think it's too cold for me. Lista is on my bucket list. Lista is the bucket list. For those of you who don't know, it's a down the line spot in Norway. Looks amazing. I want to go. It's on my bucket list. Where else is on my bucket list? It's kind of like the main spot. I've been to a lot of my other bucket list spots, but I would like to go to Lista. All right, we've got Ronax in from South Africa, or is that what is that? No, that's Czech. Sorry. There's the link. Hans, nice. Hans is the Fin master, and he just got a new board. And I really want to hear how it goes. It might take some time. So when you get a new board, it's really important to put the time in to get used to it because boards are finicky. Sometimes my favorite board has taken me a week of playing with fins and foot straps to really get it dialed in. Luckily, Hans likes to tinker, and that's exactly what you need to be doing when you get a new board. Just playing with it. Matt says no sailing, but Santa is bringing the wind. Awesome. Do you guys have Santa in England? There's Santa in Germany, but it's kind of it's like taken from the American tradition, and so it doesn't really make sense. And so like the German traditional Christmas doesn't really tie in that well with Santa, but they still have the story of Santa. It doesn't really make sense. Uh, I guess it's Ragnar on Facebook with the ice sailing. Matt says they've got Father Christmas. What's the difference between Father Christmas and Santa? I'm curious. We obviously have Santa in America, and Germans say that it is just a Coca-Cola commercial, and there's not much cultural value in it, but I'm sure many Americans would disagree. So before we jump into the Facebook group, and we have some good footage that I really want to get into, I want to talk a little bit about not sailing, because for a lot of people, they're not able to get on the water because maybe it's too cold, or maybe it's just not windy wherever they are. There are a lot of reasons why you might have a season where you're not windsurfing. And when I was growing up, I would go through all the windsurfing magazines and cut out the pictures of moves that I wanted to learn and put them on my wall. And I remember one of the years, I think I was 16, and I was really into my windsurfing, and I broke my leg. I broke my leg on an air taka. And I did two things that I think really helped my windsurfing ability to improve, even though I wasn't able to get on the water. And that was looking at the photos that I had on my wall and then going down to the beach every day, even though I couldn't windsurf. I had a broken leg, I had a cast, I was on crutches, and filming the windsurfing, watching it and filming it. So, what is my point with this? Even if you can't get on the water for whatever reason, having some kind of visual stimulus can be really helpful. So, that might mean watching some YouTube videos, and it doesn't have to be a lot, right? Watching one a day, 5-minute video a day, something to get it in your brain, and maybe it's going to be in conditions that are similar to what you normally windsurf in. And then it's kind of sad that the magazines have died. I think in the UK there's still a magazine, in Germany there's still a magazine, in France there's still some magazines, but in a lot of countries the magazines have died. So it's not that easy to cut out photos anymore. But maybe you can print out some photos, have it on your desk, an aspirational photo. So not just photos of you and your buddies, but something that you want to learn. And there are a lot of great photos online. There are a lot of great photos on the PWA website. You can get them high resolution from the PWA website for free. I'll post the link to that. It's just media.pwaworldtour.com, and you have access to all of the high resolution images. And the use of them is pretty generous. You can't use them for anything. You can't use them for commercial use, but you can use them for personal use or for the promotion of windsurfing. The PWA offers that as media.pwaworldtour.com. And I really recommend if you're going to have a period where you're not windsurfing, or even just in general, even while you're windsurfing, to have some kind of visual reinforcement. And like I said, for me, what really helped was this. I covered a whole wall of my room in pictures cut out from the magazines. You can print out pictures. You don't have to do a whole wall, just one or two pictures, having something that's a little bit aspirational, something that you can look at. And it's amazing how much processing your brain can do, even if it's not something you're really focusing on. But you start to become familiar with the body positions, the setup that's needed for these moves, and it stores itself, it logs into your brain, and then you're able to recognize the right form, and that can have a really big effect. So some kind of photo and then the video, and I think that that can really help you improve your windsurfing even while not windsurfing. So it's a really easy thing to do. All right, we're gonna jump into the Facebook group. We got a few answers. Hans says Santa Claus is the American version of Sinterklaas, which is a Dutch Belgian tradition. Interesting. Interesting. I did not know that. I would have guessed it was, I don't know what I would have guessed. Interesting. So Thomas says Lista works at Triple Mast High. Interesting. It doesn't close out, stays open. Greg. Hello, Greg. Coming week has some forecasts, and he's going to get some sailing in. Nice. All right. I'm going to load up the Facebook group. We're going to jump into the Facebook group. I want to know one last time, have you ever done any kind of, how would you call this? Sort of like visualization, and has it helped? So like cutting out photos from magazines, printing out photos from magazine, putting in your car or on your desk or somewhere where you see it. Have you done that intentionally, and has it helped? Or watching maybe YouTube videos. Have you done something like that, and has it helped? All right, let's jump in the Facebook group. Axel, hello. Just had a lame session. What was lame about your session? All right. Oh, we got Bart. Hello, Bart. Bart says plenty of good wins in Cornwall. Cross off sessions. Nice. Get some you have any footage you can post in the group? Get some footage and we'll go over it. All right. Time to go through the group. I still want to hear if you have done any kind of like visualization. It's probably not called visualization. It's a better way to say that, but where you're using photos or video to help you. So like, I cut out the photos from the magazines and put it on the walls, or going down to the beach and filming. All right, Axel says the wind and the waves were lame. All right, so first up, we have a video from Nick. Nick, are you with us in the chat? If you are, say hi. If not, you're watching this later, and that's so. We're gonna make this full screen. So Nick was on a online four loop course that we did a couple years ago now, and the forward loop packed. And so we learned four loops on that course, and he's been refining them ever since. He has submitted many times footage, but always from his own POV cameras. So this is the first time that we are seeing third person point of view footage of Nick's loops. And I have to say, Nick, they look way better than your first person POV footage. The loops look radical. So let's watch it. So Nick's question is, what does he need to do to land this? Boom. Look at that rotation. I absolutely love it. Nick, you are charging. These rotations look nice. It's radical, but it's also safe. You're not going endo, you're staying horizontal. I love it. I really love to see it. So, what do you need to do to get a clean landing, to land on your board? So my first question to you is what do you see about your takeoff that you think looks different than what you see in the takeoffs from other looping videos? Just think about that for a second. What do you see different? Now, there are a lot of things you're doing right. You've got the wide grip. You're looking back with your head really soon. Look at that, looking back, using the hips. Boom. Now, I'll give you a little hint. So, you're taking off like this. Look at the where your nose is pointing straight up to the sky. Now let's look at the landing. Where is the nose pointing? Straight up to the sky. So often with the loops, you come out of them in a similar position as how you went into it. So if you want to land more horizontal, you need to take off more horizontal. There are two ways to do that. One is that you can go more horizontal off of the ramp, and so that would mean taking a little bit more of a downwind angle and not leaning back as much. So you're still getting some height, but you're not leaning back and flying up into the air. Or once you're in the air, really focusing on getting the nose of the board down before you're pulling into that rotation. For double forwards and stalled forwards, what the guys talk about. So I talk a lot with Marcelio Brown and Robbie Swift, and these guys that are doing huge double forwards, stalled double forwards, big stalled forwards. And what they're really conscious of, what makes the difference between a good one and a bad one, and because we're in really similar territory here, Nick, because you're doing a good rotation, but you're not landing it. And so, we don't need so many big changes. But when I'm talking with Brasinho or talking with Robbie Swift, and what they're really concentrating on in Posa when they're doing these really windy, big stalled double forwards is getting the nose of the board down, getting the nose of the board down before they rotate. So they take off from the ramp and they're going really high, and they go up and then they make sure that the nose is down before they pull in the trigger. And that is to make sure that then they land again flat, right? Uh, because you tend to land in a similar position. Uh, So you want to get that nose down and a little bit more horizontal. So I want to find another video just to show an example of that. Meanwhile, I'm going to check the chat. Max says, so Max checks out his kit while he can't go out and checks out the POV footage on the internet. Um, and body position. Yeah, cool. All right, let's see. Let's go continent 7. And then let's see if we can find a stalled forward. So what you're doing, Nick, is not a stalled forward, but I want to get an example of the nose going down. Uh, so here's one from Takara. I don't know why my thing looks so messed up. So here's Takara Ishii, Japanese rider. So look, he goes up, 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 gets the nose down. And so how do you get the nose down? Uh, two things. One is with your legs. So you can see how he's really tucking that back leg up and then sort of pushing that front leg downwind. And so it's a sort of a little bit of a scissoring feeling where that back leg is coming up and then that front leg is sort of scissoring downwind. And then also with the sail. So by bringing the sail out to um, to windward, you can also help bring that nose downwind and down instead of up. And so you can see that the nose of the board, he gets the nose of the board pointing down before he pulls the trigger and rotates. Let's watch another one. Let's watch one from Victor. This is a huge one. And that's big, but you can see that nose is up, nose is up, nose is up, and he gets the nose, at least horizontal, it's no longer pointing up. before he rotates. Let's watch another one. Let's watch one from Julian. And these are huge, but it really just shows you the the principle. So this one from Julian is really clear. You can see he's going for height, so he's going fully straight up. And this is actually a very similar position to the position that Nick is in. But then before he rotates, he gets the board pointing down and more downwind as well, which will also help. And so down and downwind are connected. And so it's again bringing that back leg up, scissoring slightly with the front leg, and then bringing that sail into windward and sort of pushing down with that front hand, getting it see in this nice position that then he's able to just pull in and get his nice clean rotation. So that is what you want to do, Nick, is get more horizontal before you start rotating. And then you're going to be landing really nicely. Tied in with getting more horizontal is getting that back leg more tucked in, which will also help with the rotation. And those are connected. It will make it feel easier. It'll be easier for the board to come under you. Yeah, and those two things are connected. But nice work, man. Nice work. All right, next up, Ragnar is ice windsurfing. And so he says no coaching, but hey, Rich. Good evening. Hey, Oliver. Rich. All right, so check this out. This is cool. I want to try this. This is also on my bucket list. Ragnar said he would take me out if I come up to Sweden. So I think, Ragnar, I'm gonna take you up on that offer because this looks cool. I don't know when I've got time for that, but I wanna try this in my life. Look at this. How fast do you get going? You have a GPS? Because there's no friction, I would guess that you can get going really fast, scary fast. You don't need much wind. How much wind can you do it in? Look at that, it's so cool. You can do little jibes. It looks like you're really flying. I love it. I think it looks really fun. So, Ragnar, I guess the question is it as fun as it looks? You had some hard wipeouts? Yeah, I wanna try this. Has anyone else done ice windsurfing? I think this looks really cool. This to me so the wind skateboarding, I think it's a good training tool, but I don't find it that much fun. I think it's great training, but I don't find it that exciting, whereas this looks like it could be really, really exciting as well and fun. So, definitely interesting. Alright. Next up, we've got a question from Oliver. I often land my front loops with the weight in the back so the tail of the board and the clue dive into the water. Any top tip to change that? Okay, so Oliver, one, I would love to see footage. So if you can get footage, great. Two, it sounds very similar to this loop from Nick, right? He has a very similar problem. So if we look at his landing, he's landing sort of on the tail, on the clue, on his body, and we already talked about that. And the reason is that he's not getting horizontal before he starts rotating. So how do you get horizontal before you start rotating? It is tucking up that back leg, pushing and scissoring the front leg, and then steering the sail to windward to get the nose of the board down and downwind before you pull the trigger on it. Really tucking up that back leg is going to help a lot. It makes your body more compact for the rotation. In addition to everything else we just talked about, it makes the landing a little bit softer because, yeah, like when your legs are straight, you can end up with a really hard landing. So that will help. There are a few other reasons that you could be landing the way that you're describing. So if you're doing a bit of a cheese rolly rotation, you can also land like this. And sometimes people are doing a cheese rolly rotation without realizing it. and landing their loops this way. And so you want to check to see if you're doing more of a forward loop rotation or a cheese roll rotation. If you're doing the cheese roll rotation and you're crashing the way that you're describing, what is the fix for that? The fix for that, I mean, I'm not really sure what the fix is. I'd have to see the video. It could depend on a few factors. It could depend on how you're taking off from the ramp, how you're throwing the sail into the rotation. So getting some video will be really important. If you try to get more horizontal on the takeoff and really focus on tucking up that back leg and see what that does, that will also tell us whether that was your problem or if there's another problem. So the next time you get on the water, give that a go. Really, really focusing on getting horizontal before you pull the trigger is going to be really helpful. And so it's that sort of nose flat and kind of starting to go downwind that is really what you want to be looking for. Jakob, awesome. Jakob was just windsurfing for 4 hours in 7-degree weather. Awesome. Jakob is a ninja master. And so Jakob is also an alumni from the windsurfing masterclasses. And he, in addition to helping me come up with the bottom turn kata coaching, which is going to be a staple of all windsurfing masterclasses going forward, he had an experience once on a big day in Denmark where he lost his gear. It was crazy conditions, like 1.5 whitewaters, and swam in from very far on the outside into the beach, which definitely made my heart race. But he did a really good job of staying calm and just went on his back, just paddled calmly, let the whitewaters push him in, knew the wind was onshore, so it would bring him to the beach eventually. And what was so cool, the two things that were really interesting about that experience, one is Jakob was able to stay really calm, which helped him handle the situation, which is a really good proof for other people that is so key, just staying calm. Because I think a lot of us would have panicked out there in the big swells. I mean, mast high whitewaters, way outside, over 1 kilometer from the beach. But two, he had on a Garmin watch that was tracking him, and the amount of time that it took to go from so far outside to the beach, it was, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it's something like 10 minutes or 8 minutes. It was a surprisingly short amount of time, which is really interesting because it, seems like if you're going to lose your gear up there, you're going to be out to sea for an hour, which was definitely not the case. So anyway, Jakob, I hope you don't mind me talking about your achievements. All right. All right. So we've got a post from Manu. So what's your preferred harness bar? So I like a non-sliding bar. So it looks like this is a sliding bar, and I like 12 inches or 10 inches, I guess. I don't like going shorter. 8 inches, I feel like is too short. So I think I've got a 10-inch on my Decines now, and I like a fixed bar. So I learned with a sliding hook, and then I switched to a fixed hook with a loose harness. And so the whole harness moves around, which I think is helpful. All right, so if you want to join the Cape Town Masterclass, January 22nd to 28th, this is the application for it. We've already got a bunch of people signed up coming, but there are a few spots. So if you want to join, this is where you apply. It's going to be wave riding focused, and we're going to have a really good time. We're going to get some awesome photos. All right, got a question. So Greg, who's coming on the masterclass, was trying to figure out which airline to fly with, and considering Virgin. So I did this post. Seems like Virgin, there are a few different Virgins. Some of them work, some of them don't with gear. One of the things that came up is that on their website, they say that they only take 1.7 or 1.9 meters, which obviously is too short for windsurfing boards. And that seems like it is the case out of London, but something I bring up, which is frustrating, but the reality when you travel with windsurfing gear is that a lot of airlines have baggage policies that have a certain limit to the linear length. So that's the linear dimension. So the length plus the width plus the height. And often that limit is something ridiculously small. It's not even big enough to take a single board. Yet a lot of these airlines will have windsurfing policies and they will take windsurfing bags. And those rules are just inconsistent with each other. And I've in all of my years of traveling with windsurfing gear and board bags, I've only had it be an issue once, and it was in Japan. And they pulled out the tape measures and started adding everything up. And I pointed out that the rules made it impossible to take even a board, even without a bag, with anything else. And yet they do allow windsurf boards. And in the end, it was fine. But that's just something to know, and just something that can be frustrating and makes it, yeah, not so clear when you're traveling with windsurfing gear. One of the things to remember is that often the airline has three different policies. They have a policy for that they post online for the public. They have a paper book policy that is a binder that's somewhere on the desk, and they have an internal rule system that's digital. And often those three contradict each other. So it's always good to know what they have online, because if that's different to what they have on their computers on the internal system and it's in your favor, that can be really good to show them and say, well, the website says this. It says, okay, a windsurfer can be up to 5 bags. Like some airlines have that. A windsurfer can be up to 5 bags. So you have a bag for the boards, a bags for the sails, a bags for the masts, a bags for the bases, and bags for the booms. That's old policy. So a lot of airlines don't have that policy anymore. But it used to be that you could have 5 bags and you pay whatever it is, $200 for your windsurf set, and it's 5 bags and you can take it all. But the anyway, the point is that those policies can all be different from each other. And who decides, regardless of what the policy is, the person that makes the decision is the person that checks you in, the man or woman behind the counter. And they have a lot of power, often more power than they realize. They can basically do whatever they want. They can charge you nothing for the bags. They could just print tags and put them on, or they can charge you a lot. They can charge some ridiculous amount. I've had them open the bags and count the boards and say they're going to charge me, the rate for a windsurf set per board, which normally you just pay the windsurf set and then it's per bag, but definitely not per board. Or try to charge me per kilo. And I've had many, many times where I get the bags just put on for free. So the person that is behind the counter has all the power. And so it's really important to be nice to them, and realize that it's not so black and white. Now, that said, some airlines have really bad windsurfing policy, and I would not try to check in with them. British Airways, for example. So if they just explicitly don't allow windsurf bags, don't do it. Don't travel with them. Axel says Turkish used to be good. Yeah, I've flown with Turkish, and they a bunch of times, and they're really good. Someone on Facebook is saying, isn't it also up to the aircraft? I think that also depends on the airline. So a lot of the European airlines, especially the German ones and Swiss ones, like you to book the bags ahead of time. American airlines are different, and with the American airplanes, the bags pretty much all fit. I think with most airplanes, the bags will fit. I think that some of the bombardiers or I'm not sure which. There's one plane that sometimes you see that can be difficult with space, but generally the bags will fit. Now, there's something that Bill says in this, which is that London has a certain way in Terminal 5 of how it has an automated baggage system, and that has a length limit. So if you're in Terminal 5, you just can't check boards. All right, let's move on. So Jamie is still going for back loops because they feel nice. And he's focusing on forwards also. Um, and he wants help landing the back forward loops or back loops. Back loop is also a back loop. Also a back loop and another back loop. All right, so we're gonna get. Whoa, that was close. That was close. All right, we're gonna get into this footage in a second. All right. So going for back loops, good effort. The first thing, this hand is very far forward. That is going to limit your control over the rig. You want to bring this front hand back to this first line. You can even have the hand on the harness lines, but for now, this will be a big jump. Bring this front hand here, and that also allows you to have a wider grip, right? Or not a wider grip because I guess your grip is a similar width, but for the same wide grip, the backhand can be farther back, which then gives you more control over the rig. So you want to bring this front hand to this green line on the boom. First thing first. That's easy, easy, easy change. And generally, when you're sailing around, you want that hand to be over here. Unless you're going into attack or maybe going into a goiter. There's a few instances where you could have your hand so far forward, going into a Vulcan or Spock, but most of the time you do want this front hand here. And then sometimes you want the backhand farther back as well. All right, so let's watch this first one. So go straight up, sheeting, sheeting in. So the rotation is very constant. We want a little bit less of a constant rotation. So one of the things on the back loop is you really want to think of just going up and then rotating on the way down. So it's not so much of a constant rotation. It's like you travel up and then you start rotating on your way down. Also, you want to make sure that you're. So what we see here is you're sheeting out as you're coming into the landing, and you're sheeting in on the takeoff. We want to see the exact opposite. So the takeoff, you can be a little bit sheeted out. Then on the landing, you want to be sheeting in a lot, and that's what kills the rotation and gives you a soft, nice landing. So you want to sort of sheet out a little bit on the takeoff, and then um, really be sheeting in aggressively on the landing. So we want to switch that up a little bit, and make sure that you're getting the rotation from your head and your upper body, rather than really using the sort of whip of the sail, which might be happening here. It's really hard for me to tell with this angle if we're almost going into a push loop rotation or not. Which if that's the case, you've got to really dial it back or decide that you want to go for push loops, which is also cool. Push loops are cool. So we really wanna slow down the rotation, which I know sounds weird because a lot of these you're under rotating, but that's the path to landing them actually, is slowing it down and not having such a constant rotation. So really thinking about traveling straight up. And then at the top, that's when you're doing that push to rotate, and you're really using your head and your upper body, and you're sheeting in the sail and pushing that sail forward, pushing that sail towards the landing, and really making sure that you're moving that hand, that front hand back before you're taking off. There's no reason to be this close to the mast ever, really ever. Um, so really get that hand back. And this is a big one for I think most people. So I want to throw this to the chat. How conscious of you, how conscious are you of where your front hand is? Is it so close to the mast? Is it farther back? Pay attention the next time you're on the water. And you really want that front hand to be around here. So if you have the lines on the boom, like this Chinook boom, you want this hand sort of around these first lines. You don't want it on the logo. You don't want it on the bend. So general rule for especially these kind of booms that have the long straight section and then a little bit of bend, you do not want your hand on the bend. You want it somewhere here on the straight bit. Now, some of the older booms are really curved the whole way. You're going to be on the curve no matter where you are. Okay, different story. But for these kind of booms, you don't want to be on the curve. You want to be somewhere here on the straight part. All right, let's see what other people are saying. So let's see. What are people saying? Yeah, so people cheated in on the way down. Yeah, turning your head and looking for the landing. Yeah, subdividing the action into two components. So that's important. It's really not a constant motion. It's not like you're just doing one motion and going off the ramp. It's really important to think of it as sort of two pieces. The back loop is a going up portion and then a coming down portion. It's not a constant rotation. Um, yeah, so there's some good advice here as well. Um, all right, so Max is saying that he puts his front hand back near the harness lines when he's overpowered to help keep speed. Greg has been working on moving the front hand back and relaxing his shoulders. Bart saying super conscious of the front hand. Yeah, cool. Yeah, it really helps. I mean, moving that front hand back helps a lot. It gives you control on the front of the sail, but also it allows that backhand to go farther back as well. And that gives you a lot of control over the sail. So whether you're going for back loops or just sailing around, wave riding, going in a straight line, racing your friends, whatever it is, it's important that for the sail's function to be a little bit farther back on the boom. All right. I was curious what was happening in everyone's windsurfing life this week. I really enjoyed going through all these answers. So thank you everyone who answered. I love this picture. Look at this beautiful Langebaan, South Africa. Whew, look at the water. Adrian says there are 4 times fewer tourists in Cape Town than any other year. That's nice. I'm going to be there in a couple weeks. We'll see you soon. Yeah, cool. So I love this. I'm going to keep it up. So if you see me do a big question post like this in the Facebook group, where's the post? Here it is. Share your answer because I love reading them. I love seeing what's going on in the world. Like it's just so cool seeing this stuff, seeing where you guys are, where you're windsurfing. Yeah, hearing your answers. You can post photos, text, whatever it is. Like, look at that in the gorge. Nice white caps. So cool. Thank you everyone for posting. And that's the new board. There's the new board. Hans's new board. Look at that. And these are Hans's fins. So Hans makes his own fins. And look how beautiful that is. I love these fins. I love the look of the wood fins. Very beautiful. All right, next up, we have a question from Tomas about a consistent place on the U.S. mainland for March and April. My answer is that there is nowhere that's going to beat Maui. So if you're going to go to Maui, I know that was an option for you, Tomas. Just go to Maui. I don't think there's anywhere in the US that will beat it in March and April. Once we get into the summer, it's a different story. So once we're in May, June, July, Maui gets flat. It's still windy. But far fewer waves than in the other times of year. And then the Oregon coast area around Santa Cruz, all of that starts to turn on as well. You can get really good sessions there. It's not as consistent in terms of wind as Maui is, but there's still a lot of windsurfing. The gorge in the summer turns on. So in the summer, there are a lot of places on the US mainland. But for the spring, March, April, I would say that really Maui is where you want to be if you're going to be somewhere just for windsurfing in the US. All right, let's check the chat. So Rich, Oliver, all of these guys are also saying that the front hand makes a huge difference. I am happy to hear it. It's good that you guys are aware of that. And yeah, if you're not, start paying attention to where your front hand is because it's such a small thing and it makes a huge difference. It helps everything that you're doing. The only time you would want that hand close to the mast is maybe jibing, going into Vulcans, when you're flipping the sail, when you're coming out clue first after maybe like a heli tack or something. But otherwise, having that front hand farther back is really going to help you. All right, everyone. That's it for today. I will see you. Will I see you next week, Sunday? Next week, Sunday, I will see you. It is Christmas Eve, and I will be doing something with my wife's family, but I will still do a live stream. Why not? I love checking in with you guys, but I fully understand if you guys are doing other things with your family. But I will be here, and I'll do a little holiday live stream next Sunday, Christmas Eve. So I will see you then. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, video, photos from your sessions, post them in the Facebook group. I want to see it, and we can discuss either technique or mindset or something that needs to be worked on, or just celebrate your wins. I've got one question to leave you with. So something that we've been talking about in the is it the accelerator group? No, the think tank. We've been talking about in the think tank this week. It are games on the water. And so I'm curious if you ever play games on the water with your friends or with yourself. And if so, what are they? I'll do a post in the Facebook group, and you can respond in the comments to that if you play games on the water. All right. I think games are a great way to learn. Make it fun. I'm signing off. Have a great week, and I will see you on Christmas. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.